name is Martin Smith. I work for a company called JustMeans.com, which is really two things. It's the largest digital media platform in the sustainability space, where people go to learn about kind of the companies and people that are shaping the world of sustainability and socially responsible business. And behind that is a growing set of software as a service tools that enable companies to engage with stakeholders on important social and environmental issues, whether that's happening on their own corporate intranet, whether it's happening on Facebook, on other social media platforms, or on justmeans.com. Both the growth of CSR and the growth of social media are based on the idea that transparency and accountability are inherently good things and ultimately bring about positive change. And so I think the dynamic between the two is incredibly interesting, and forward-looking companies are using social media as a way to engage diverse stakeholders, whether that's employees, customers, activists, NGOs that don't agree with their policies, and having a constructive dialogue with them, which leads to adaptation of strategy, which then leads to better sustainability, and ultimately, more and more it's proven, better financial performance over time. I think they're both the driver and are driven by it, whether or not they want to be. A good example is Nestle. Greenpeace ran a 2-year offline campaign against Nestle related to its sourcing of not irresponsible palm oil, but palm oil that had been sourced from plants that had been planted on deforested land in Indonesia. This 2-year offline campaign didn't really get anywhere, and then they created this advertisement that they put on YouTube of a guy in an office eating a Kit Kat that was actually a gorilla finger, and kind of blood went all over his desk. Nestle who owns Kit Kat, the brand, threatened to sue YouTube. YouTube took the video down, and so Greenpeace took over Nestle's Facebook page, resulting in a huge media, both traditional and new media, kind of uproar, forcing Nestle to move from 18% responsibly sourced palm oil to 100%, with an announcement that they would reach that goal by 2015. So I think that that's an example of a company that is company that's being forced, well, not even forced, but maybe pushed on the disclosure side. I have to imagine that they had a strategy around responsibly sourced palm oil internally, but maybe they just didn't talk about it yet. Then you've got companies like Timberland that are just coming out and saying, here's our performance every single quarter. You see more and more of that willing non-financial disclosures from companies, because these companies realize that disclosing on these issues and actually knowing as a management team what the key issues are and how companies are performing, be it cubic meters of water per $1 million in revenue, right? So, which is a good source of understanding how much water you use to make your products, or kilograms of carbon emissions, which is a good idea of what is going to be our risk if there's actually a global cap and trade program, or what's going to be our risk in these different countries if it's mandated that we need to start paying a price for the carbon that we're emitting. So these things are really part of kind of core business strategy now, and I think that companies are realizing they need to talk about them because they need to make investors, employees, other stakeholders, NGOs aware of kind of the inherent risks or opportunities associated with the current way that they're doing business, in order to get people on board with how they need to change their business to adapt to a world that is embracing sustainability very quickly. There's an interesting quote from kind of the chief procurement officer from Unilever a couple of days ago, and he said, any company that doesn't figure out sustainability this year will be out of business in 2020, which is it's a pretty strong quote from the guy who's heading all of procurement for one of the largest companies in the world. 2015, I think, the way the world's going to look, most OECD countries, so most rich countries, are going to require some sort of disclosure on non-financial performance. That's going to lead companies that are doing this well to start excelling and really driving profitability by becoming more and more sustainable over the years. They're going to be able to hire better people. They're going to have more loyal customers, more ESG money, environmental, social, and governance kind of based assets or screened assets are going to pour into those companies over time. So this world of social media, I think the way to think about it in corporate involvement in this field is the same way to think about having a website back in 1997, right? We talked about having a website back in 1997. In 2005, everyone has a website, right? Same thing with social media. Companies, every single company will have a social media strategy that's then tied both to kind of core sales and marketing, but also tied to engagement on a variety of kind of social and environmental issues.